Alright, here we are back again with the Seth Thomas 30-hour weight-driven clock, the OG case, and all the parts have been cleaned, and I've used a cleaner from a formula in a book, which consists of 4 ounces of Murphy's oil soap, 8 ounces of acetone, 12 ounces of ammonia, and 1 cup of water initially, and you mix all that together in a 1-gallon can and let it sit for a couple hours, and then fill the can on up with another gallon of water or so until it's mostly full, and then put the parts in. And as you can see, comparing what you see here with what was you saw before, it does brighten the brass up. In fact, when I cleaned this, I didn't take the count wheel off until after I took it out and washed it, and you can see the difference in the shade of the brass. You can see this area right here is about what color it was before it went in to the cleaning solution, and this is what it is now. Also, the steel parts, it left them very bright, so it really did a pretty good job. This formula came from a book called Extreme Clock Restoration by Thomas Temple, and it's a book that I downloaded several years ago off the internet. I think he has a website called Extreme Restoration or Extreme Clock Restoration that you can go to. The cleaner that I had previously been using was a type of mineral spirits that was a milky color. It was a mineral spirit substitute made by Crown that used to be sold at Lowe's, but like all good things, it seems like it gets discontinued and was no longer available. So I've had to resort to other things and tried several other formulas in the interim, and never really came up with anything I liked. And so after the disassembly of this movement, I was looking at the Temple book and came across the solution that I ended up using after considering using the traditional water ammonia mix that I used when I first started as a teenager. Decided I'd like to try something a little bit better, that might give better results, and I'm quite satisfied with what has happened here, and I'll probably be using this formula again in the future. You only wash the parts for about an hour. Any longer and the ammonia will probably start to discolor the brass, turn it a copperish color, although I don't remember ever having that problem much in the past. I've read about it being a problem. And the simple green definitely has something like ammonia in it, because I've done that before. I've turned a Seth Thomas 30-hour spring wound movement from brass to copper color. It was a very bright, beautiful salmon pink, but it wasn't right. And it's the little pointed top cottage clock that's shown on the clock page on the website. I ended up using a brass bristled wire brush to go over all the parts to restore them back to a nice brassy color instead of the salmon pink. So please bear that in mind. But with this formula, it worked very well. There are some discolorations and spots here and there, and that's probably because I did not pre-rinse the movement in mineral spirits or lacquer thinner to get off the initial crud that was on it. But it did take off, this formula though, did take off everything that was there, all the grease and gunk, and pretty well, and it did do a nice job of brightening up the movement plates. And I think you can see this here looking at the oil sinks around these pivots here, how clean they turned out, and even the bushings there. Look at the back plate here. See that it got things pretty clean. There's a little bit of dirt left there that I missed around that bushing, but it shouldn't be a big deal. The hole is nice and clean. It looks better. It looks like that dirt is in some scratches in there. It might just be discoloration. As you can see, it left all the steel parts nice and bright also. So I'll go ahead and get things ready to go, and in the next video I will reassemble the movement, and you can see how that happens. There are issues that have to be addressed when reassembling a striking movement. The gears have to be timed correctly, and this is a pretty simple clock to do. There's only 3 wheels whose timing amongst each other is critical. Some of the elements automatically set themselves up. The count wheel and its relationship to this wheel here with the locking plate. It's this element right here, and there's the locking notch. Is automatically governed by the fact that this wheel has the advancing pin on it that advances the count wheel 1 tooth at a time. And then of course this is the strike side grate wheel with the lifting pins. And the fly with the warning pin on it. So, join me in the next video to reassemble the movement.